Bueno, me encuentro con el director de la película District 9, el señor Niell Blomkamp. Él es de Sudáfrica y está aquí para hablarnos de la película. Hi Niell, welcome to the cameras from Panama. We're very happy to see a different movie like yours. How did this idea began?
Well, I grew up in Johannesburg, and the genesis for the idea was as simple as wanting to put science fiction into South Africa. So I love science fiction. I'm from Johannesburg. I've never seen them combined, and so that's where the original idea came from.
We're coming to you from the entrance of District 9, the refugee camp set up to separate aliens from the general population.
How the aliens became, how they came to your mind and you put them in the film?
Well, I think, originally I was designing them to look quite different, actually. But when I realized that the way that they were written in the script was that they are essentially an insect hive, really. They're like a beehive, and their queen is dead on the ship. So they are a whole bunch of worker drones, and they have no direction, really. So when I figured out that they were essentially insects, then we started to design them to look more like bugs and more like insects, and so that's how the idea for what they look like comes from.
Why are you here? How do your weapons work?
Another great thing about this movie is how the story is told.
Yeah.
It's like a documentary and intersect with
cinema. Yeah. Well, I mean, the documentary part of it I wanted to do because I thought that if you show science fiction through a documentary lens, it's going to feel more real. It'll feel very realistic. And I wanted it to feel as real as possible. But then, on the other side, if you don't use traditional camera angles and traditional cinema, then you end up disconnected from your characters, so I had to combine them.
Now, to everyone's surprise, the ship didn't come to a stop over Manhattan or Washington or Chicago, but it instead coasted to a halt directly over the city of Johannesburg. The doors didn't open for 3 months. It just hovered there. Nobody could get in. And they eventually decided, after much deliberation, that the best thing to do would be to physically cut their way in.
There's a human part in the movie with a kid and the relationship between the non-human and the human. Yeah. Why do you do that?
Well, because I wanted the audience to empathize with the aliens, and I wanted the audience to by the end of the film that you'd actually be on the aliens' side. And so I just try to use techniques that would help the audience really get it, empathize with the creatures.
Christopher, I did not know they were doing this to you guys. You are treated like dirt.
He's entered District 9.
And what about having Peter Jackson give you the high five and saying go?
I think I'm very fortunate, for how everything has ended up. That he was someone who said, he believed in me, and then he said, go out and make the film that you want to make, and really provided me with an amazing sense of protection. It was very generous of him.
Find the freak.
If a friend asks you, what is this movie about, what would you tell him?
I would say it's a science fiction film with aliens living in Johannesburg, but it's a little bit unusual. So you should check it out because it's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird and great. Yeah. Buena película. Muchas gracias.
There's a lot of secrets in District 9.